Welcome back to Beyond Binary, where we decode the events shaping our world with facts, insights, and a clear eye on the future. Today we're diving into one of the most important conversations in global finance right now: why the markets are bracing for impact. A combination of the upcoming US jobs report, a high-stakes China summit, and an unprecedented wave of mergers and acquisitions is sending ripples across economies. But what does this really mean for you, me, and the future of global trade? Let's break it down into 10 powerful facts that define this very moment. First, the US jobs report has become one of the most watched signals in the financial world. It's more than just employment numbers. It's the heartbeat of the American economy. When unemployment falls too low, it signals that wages may rise, feeding inflation. When unemployment climbs, it threatens growth and consumer demand. Right now, in August 2025, analysts are divided. Some predict that the cooling labor market could finally give the Federal Reserve room to ease interest rates. Others fear that persistent wage pressure might keep rates higher for longer. The stakes are massive because Wall Street and global investors often treat this report like a crystal ball for the next 3 months of economic policy. Second, we have to talk about inflation's stubborn nature. Even with years of tightening, inflation remains sticky in core sectors: housing, healthcare, and energy. For central banks, this means walking a razor-thin line between tightening too much and triggering a recession, or loosening too soon and risking a flare-up. The jobs report is central to this balancing act. If it shows too much heat, investors could brace for higher borrowing costs, and if it shows weakness, fear of a downturn spreads. This one data set influences everything from mortgage rates in Texas to soybean futures in Brazil. Third, the China summit looms large. Scheduled just days after the US report, it gathers not just Chinese policymakers, but also leaders from key Asian and African economies. The summit agenda includes supply chain resilience, digital currency adoption, and climate-linked trade agreements. But what's really at stake here is global influence. In the last 5 years, China has aggressively positioned itself as the architect of alternative trade routes and financial systems. The summit could finalize agreements that reduce dependence on Western financial structures, shifting the balance of economic power further east. Fourth, the US-China dynamic isn't just about trade goods anymore, it's about technology. Semiconductors, artificial intelligence, and rare earth minerals are now the pillars of economic competition. Recent leaks suggest that China might announce a new semiconductor alliance at the summit, a move that could counterbalance US restrictions on advanced chip exports. For investors, this isn't just about tech, it's about national security, corporate strategy, and the future of every industry from smartphones to space exploration. Fifth, let's not overlook the energy factor. Global oil prices have seesawed as OPEC plus nations struggle with output agreements. But AI-driven energy demand forecasting is giving governments sharper tools. If the China summit brings new energy deals, particularly in renewable infrastructure, it could signal a pivot that reshapes global markets. For now, volatility remains the name of the game, something traders are factoring into every risk model. Sixth, one of the least discussed but most influential drivers is debt. Governments worldwide are carrying historically high levels of public debt. The US alone has crossed $35 trillion. Rising interest rates make servicing this debt harder, pulling funds away from infrastructure, innovation, and social programs. Investors fear that a weak jobs report could spark conversations about fiscal sustainability, whether governments can keep borrowing endlessly, or whether a correction is inevitable. Debt isn't a headline, but it's the quiet weight pressing on every decision. Seventh, let's move to mergers and acquisitions. 2025 has already seen over $2 trillion worth of deals announced, with mega mergers dominating the headlines. Companies are consolidating to survive in a world where AI and automation are rewriting business models at lightning speed. Just last month, 2 global pharmaceutical giants merged in a $120 billion deal to accelerate AI-driven drug discovery. These M&A surges aren't random, they're a survival strategy. In industries where scale and data matter, size is power, and power attracts capital. Eighth, these consolidations raise an important fact: competition itself is shrinking. Regulators in the US, EU, and India are watching closely because fewer players in any industry could mean less innovation and higher prices for consumers. Still, markets love efficiency, and the stock of merging companies often surges. The tension between consumer welfare and shareholder value is playing out in real time. Ninth, let's look at investor psychology. Market movements are not only driven by numbers, they're driven by narratives. Right now the narrative is uncertainty. Will the US slow down or stabilize? Will China emerge with new allies or new restrictions? Will mega mergers create stability or monopolies? These questions are fueling cautious behavior, with many investors moving towards safe havens like gold, treasury bonds, and even AI-managed ETFs designed to react faster than humans to global headlines. 10th and finally, we cannot ignore the human side of these shifts. Behind every statistic is a worker, a family, or a consumer feeling the effects. When the jobs report shows weakness, it reflects real people struggling to find employment. When the China summit negotiates supply chains, it determines whether certain medicines or technologies are affordable and accessible. When mergers happen, jobs are lost, even as companies tout efficiency gains. The global market is not an abstract machine. It's a system that directly affects how we live, what we pay, and what future opportunities exist. So here we are, at a crossroads defined by data, diplomacy, and corporate ambition. The jobs report will give us a snapshot of America's labor pulse. The China summit will reveal where global alliances are shifting, and the wave of mergers will continue reshaping industries before our eyes. Together, these events are not isolated, they're interconnected signals in a global network of cause and effect. What does this mean for you as a curious observer of global change? It means that the next few weeks could mark a turning point for the decade ahead. The rules of trade, innovation, and competition are being rewritten, not in theory, but in practice. And while uncertainty dominates the headlines, one fact is clear: the world's economic gears are shifting faster than ever, and the impact will be felt by everyone, from Wall Street traders to small business owners, from factory workers in Asia to consumers scrolling on their phones in Europe. The markets are bracing for impact. The real question is, are we ready to understand the signals and adapt to them? That's why Beyond Binary exists, to bring clarity to complexity, and to give you the knowledge to navigate a world that never stands still. Stay curious, stay prepared, and if you found this deep dive valuable, don't forget to subscribe, share, and join the conversation in the comments. The interconnected nature of these three major forces creates a perfect storm of market sensitivity. Policymakers are finding themselves with fewer tools and more complex challenges than ever before. The pace of technological disruption is accelerating, making traditional economic models less reliable. Younger generations are inheriting an economic landscape fundamentally different from their parents. International economic coordination is becoming increasingly difficult as national interests diverge. Supply chain vulnerabilities exposed during recent crises remain largely unresolved. Currency competition is intensifying as nations seek to reduce dependence on traditional reserve currencies. Climate change continues to intersect with economic policy in ways that multiply uncertainty. The sheer volume of information available to investors and policymakers can create paralysis rather than clarity. The pressure for immediate responses often conflicts with the need for thoughtful, long-term planning. Yet this same information revolution is democratizing access to financial insights like never before. Those who can cut through the noise and focus on fundamental trends will be best positioned for what comes next. The democratization of financial information means that understanding these trends is no longer just for Wall Street professionals. Business students and curious minds everywhere now have access to the same data that drives trillion-dollar decisions. The question becomes, are we developing the skills to interpret and act on this information effectively? Successful adaptation requires understanding not just what is happening, but why it matters and how to respond. Short-term market movements often obscure long-term structural changes that create lasting opportunities. Every major economic shift creates new opportunities for those prepared to recognize and seize them. The interconnected nature of modern markets means that local decisions have global consequences. Understanding different economic cultures and approaches becomes essential for navigating this landscape. The most sustainable solutions often emerge from collaboration rather than competition. Artificial intelligence is becoming an essential tool for understanding and predicting economic patterns. The future belongs to those who can effectively combine human insight with artificial intelligence capabilities. Digital tools are making economic literacy more accessible, but also more necessary than ever before. Staying informed requires continuous learning and the ability to distinguish signal from noise. Critical thinking skills become more valuable as information abundance creates new challenges. Building communities of informed individuals creates collective wisdom that benefits everyone. This is exactly why Beyond Binary exists, to transform complexity into clarity and confusion into confidence. Our mission is to ensure that everyone has access to the insights needed to thrive in an uncertain world. Together, we're building a community that values facts over fear and understanding over speculation. Join us in this mission by subscribing, sharing your thoughts, and helping others discover these crucial insights. We'll continue tracking these developments and bringing you the analysis that matters most. Remember, knowledge is power, and understanding these trends gives you the power to adapt and succeed. Stay curious, stay informed, and keep watching Beyond Binary for the insights that matter. These 10 facts represent more than individual data points. They're pieces of a larger puzzle that defines our economic future. Armed with this understanding, you're better equipped to interpret the headlines and make informed decisions. Economic literacy is not a destination but a journey of continuous learning and adaptation. Together, we can build the collective wisdom needed to thrive in an interconnected world. The future belongs to those who understand the present and prepare for what comes next. Beyond Binary remains committed to providing the analysis and insights you need to stay ahead. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into global market dynamics. Until next time, keep questioning, keep learning, and keep growing.